That's right, I don't have to circle, yes.
Judith, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
I applaud your running for the board, and while some people might say that you have no experience and you shouldn't, I think that that has nothing at all to do with it, that a person who can contribute to the board can do it from day one, and experience really has nothing at all to do with it. At the same time, what it does require, as I say, I believe, is a level of judgment based on facts and an understanding of our situation. And when I read through the materials that you've talked about, none of it is specific at all. There isn't a single specific element here based on the specific condition of the galaxy. And so I'd ask you, what have you done in preparation for the board, for running for the board, to understand our specific situation, come up with specific solutions rather than general ideas?
Glad you asked. I've been doing a lot of reading. To get ready for candidates night, I've been doing a lot of talking with a lot of people because the time we have to speak here is really very short. But I've also been doing a lot of reading and talking with a lot of people about what it is that I'm reading, and because there are a lot of holes in much of my reading about financial matters and in the minutes of the association and the president of the board of directors and the presentations that we've been seeing from Cooper Union. I've been doing a lot of that digging in preparation for the second candidate sheet, which we have to turn in next Tuesday, and will be going out, I assume, very shortly after that. It's in that sheet that I will be making some very specific suggestions on what I think should be some of the first issues we should tackle, and some of the longer term issues we should tackle. Somebody brought up the idea of 5-year plans. I think 5-year plans are very good, but I think we also need to take some really hard looks on what money we have right now and how we should spend it. And if we have a little bit of money, what we can do with that. If we have more money, I say we go after the elevators. It's not only a cosmetic issue, it's a safety issue. If we have a little bit of money, what should we do with that? That maybe can help cosmetically. But you'll be seeing that in my second sheet.
Thank you. Mr. Miller, in your flyer you are saying that you would like to establish financial discipline. As I'm sure you know, the previous board had saved something to the tune of $300,000 in cut around $300,000 in expenses, and from what I understand, the current board is in the process of reducing the expenses by $1 million per year. What more would you do to establish financial discipline?
Well, right now, we have to make sure that we still consider the needs of the people, but we have to live within our budget and make sure that all the time we review the budgeted amounts to the actual amounts that are spent each month. And we have to live within our means. I'm used to, in business, every month, when I get a financial statement or as I go along, I'm constantly checking my figures where I'm at.
Okay, Richard, question for Sergey.
Sergey, you said you're for sub-metering. What information do you base your opinion?
Thank you. I said I would be in favor of metering, and I believe that an investigation would have to be done into this possibility of instituting submetering if the investigation reveals that it's not, first of all, feasible, it's not easily feasible, it does not represent big savings, substantial savings, then of course it would have to be reconsidered. But at least an investigation has to be done, and all the avenues have to be explored into seeing whether the project is feasible. It's worth exploring, definitely.
Is this on?
Yes.
Okay, good. Gail, the primary responsibility of any board director is fiduciary responsibility to the association. And that mainly means money, watching our money. What have you done to prepare yourself for that responsibility? What do you know about our financial affairs?
Well, fiduciary responsibility just doesn't refer to money, it refers to everything. But that's a good question. Like everyone else who owns a residence here, I've been going to meetings and looking at budgets. As everyone else has complained about the money, so have I. Unlike you, I'm not on the financial committee, and I haven't been privy to all the financials that you have year after year after year after year. I must say, and you've done nothing about it in all those years, but you seem to complain. So what have I done to prepare? What can you ask anyone what they've done to prepare about the financials of this situation? I know as much as everybody else does. I'm not privy to the information. I can't wait to get on the board to make sure that the money seems to have disappeared a little bit, and I think this goes back to Jerry's question about forensics, which I'm not going to entertain. But everyone is asking, where is the money? I haven't done anything special to prepare other than anybody else here. I have a million questions, and I'd like some answers. But I assure you that as a director, my fiduciary responsibility will enable me to respond to each and every one of you and tell you the truth, and to make sure systems are set up so that this does not happen again.
Okay. Gail, question for Barbara?
Well, I touched upon this. In your flyer, you talk about consensus building and how specific problems would have been avoided if we used consensus building. I gather by that you mean polling. How could you avoid the problem? Okay, surveys are good, but you cannot govern or run an entity on consensus building. If 51% of respondents think one way and the other 49% think the other, how could you avoid the problem? Because you cannot please everybody all the time.
If I understand your question, you're saying that I've proposed a system for getting owners involved that involves polling, and that is not. Well, perhaps you'd like to clarify it.
You talk about consensus building.
Consensus building can be done in many different ways. There are many mechanisms involved, and it's premature to define exactly which mechanism would be used. The point is that owners have complained for years that they have no meaningful input into these big decisions. And it is true that they can have these input, that we can design a system which will give owners meaningful input. It does not necessarily mean a formal vote. It can mean consensus buildings, and there are infinite varieties of ways to build consensus. We will have to determine which of those we would choose. I believe we would arrive at a condition in which people would actually feel that they can participate in a meaningful way, that owner involvement would grow. And I don't think that we would end up with a divided population. I think we'd end up with people actually discussing and becoming more involved.